Hey everybody, welcome to a brand new episode of Keep Swing. I'm your host, Matt Stucko. Today's guest, he's a good friend of mine. Oh, man, I look up to him in so many different ways. He is literally doing something that only he can do, and he provides for so many elite athletes, whether it's MVPs like Josh Donaldson to so many athletes knowing about his service like LeBron James. We got Anthony Ambrosini with us. Thank you so much for joining us, man. I'm so pumped to have you here today and share your story.
Oh, man, my pleasure, man. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Dude, it's pretty cool, man. You're living a dream right now. So just explain to people what Custom Cleats Inc. is and what services you actually do provide.
What we do is we turn any sneaker. I mean, I honestly, I've broadened the horizons where like I've worked with almost anything now. But like I used to say some shoes I couldn't do, but really at this point, I have the machinery and the know-how to basically turn any shoe into any type of cleat. So you're talking about, any cleated sport, I can make the shoe that's comfortable for you, that has the style that you want, into the cleat so you can perform on that field, whether it be a golf course, football field, baseball field, softball. The choices are endless of what I do. And thankfully, the sneaker companies come out with new shoes every year. So my inventory grows every year.
That's right. And as every year goes by, it seems like your network continues to get bigger and bigger, but it wasn't always that way. And You started decades ago. And in my opinion, one of my most favorite things about people's stories of success is how they started and how they've continued to grow and sometimes end. But when it does come to like that favorite part of a success story, it's you can start something and think that it's going to go one specific way, but it actually ends up going a completely different way. In this case for you used to be a professional baseball player in the Montreal Expos organization, and then one thing happened that led to another. I'm sure you thought that you were going to grow up like so many people to become a professional baseball player. You're very close, but then there's something that happened during your minor league days that led to where you are right now. So let's start from there. The very beginning of Custom Cleats.
I'll take you basically at the start. My last year of college, I finished up at Marist College up in Poughkeepsie, New York. So I was, I was pretty good. I was a catcher in college, but I never really got any offers after college. So I kind of hung on because I loved the game. Went to tryouts and things like that, and I actually was lucky enough to get signed by the Montreal Expos with a minor league contract. They took me on basically. They said, "All right, kid, here's a pen and a Snickers bar. You want to come play?" I said, "Absolutely, absolutely. Come, just point me in the right direction." So that started my professional career, and as the games played, got under my belt, I gained a lot more respect in the organization as a player. I started out basically just like a bullpen guy, kind of alleviate the pressure of these high picks that were catchers. But like I said, as my career went on, it was a short minor league career, but as it did go on, I gained a lot more respect with the organization. And I met a lot of great guys, players, coaches, who I still keep in contact with. But the way, what changed for me and kind of tied into Custom Cleats was I was lucky enough to play with my younger brother who was drafted. Our first season together was in Clinton, Iowa. If you don't know where Clinton, Iowa is, you haven't experienced small town living. We're talking about one stoplight in town. The main income, you're talking about a dog food factory. So it was an interesting time. But, during that season, he ran into some injuries with his feet. He had some stress fractures in his feet. It prevented him from playing, 2 days in a row. And in minor league baseball, if you're off the field, sometimes you're forgotten. So, as a brother, and a person who I admired as him being a very talented player, I wanted him to stay on the field. I always wanted to help him out. So I figured out how to take the turf shoe that he would be able to wear pain-free in BP and infield outfield, and then turn that into a cleat he could wear on the field during the game. He obviously couldn't wear the turf shoe in the game because he would lose a lot of traction just wearing that shoe or that sneaker. I thought to myself, if I was able to add some traction of a cleat to that shoe, he would benefit with both the comfort and the traction. But it didn't happen overnight, that's for sure. It took a lot of prototypes, but eventually I got it down to something where I can rely on.
So how many more years of play did you have in the Expos farm system after you started creating these custom cleats?
I had 4 full years in minor leagues. And I would say halfway through, I started fooling around with the custom cleats. So about a year and a half, 2 years. And then I was out of baseball.
All right, so check this, guys. That was early 2000s.
Yeah.
Anthony starts a professional baseball career with hopes of getting to the big leagues, just as anybody else would playing a professional sport at any level. Something comes along the way where he's just able to create something just out of passion and just trying to help somebody, be a service and help his family. And next thing you know, he has created something that has lasted him so far a lifetime. And as you said at the very beginning of this interview, sneaker companies come out with new products every single year. So Anthony and Custom Cleats is not going away. And since that time, you've been able to work with so many different athletes. I mean, at the time where you created this company, you were on the balcony or on the patio of the apartment that you were living in. Did you ever envision you having clients from Nelson Cruz to Josh Donaldson to Javier Baez, some of the biggest names in baseball, but also to other sports? Because like you said, you convert sneakers into golf spikes. So you're not just doing baseball players, you're doing anybody and everybody.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, it is a wild ride how, like, I took it upon myself. I said, well, yeah, well, I'm playing minor league baseball, but I also have this other thing that I'm interested in that I want to pursue. So, I've always been a handy guy. So I told myself, well, okay, on some off days or some time down, let's go to Home Depot. Let's get some tools and start fooling around at the apartment. Let me see if I can really make this vision a reality. And I think I've told you before, the first shoe that I've made, I went to like Target or Walmart, I forget what store, I got a shoe that I knew that I could beat up on a little bit, so I tried some different variations. I put the shoe on and I'd run in the courtyard of the apartment that I was living at, and then the cleat would fly off. I'm like, well, that prototype stuff. So then I move on to the next idea. It didn't kind of turn a corner until an off season where I went into New York City and kind of walking down the street, just visiting the city, because I live maybe about 45 minutes out of the city. So going to the city is a visit for me. And I saw this shoe repair shop. So I said, you know what? Let me walk in. Let me pick this guy's brain a little bit. Let me see what he has to offer. And he pointed me in the direction of some things that I can try. And then from then on, I got it. I definitely cleaned up the process. I've made it reliable every single year where I know that it is something that professional athletes can rely on and say, okay, well, I can put this on my foot and I know this is a cleat that I can rely on. And that's important to me.
You've had so many returning customers where they wouldn't be coming back to you if they didn't trust you and if they didn't love what you have to offer in terms of a product and your service. And one thing that I really love about you is that how you approach one thing is how you approach everything. And I think that's key to success too, because whether it's a softball player, a little leaguer, or if it's an MLB All-Star, you are going 110% into each and every single shoe. I'm sure that just knowing you, that's how you approach everything in life that you do.
Oh, without a doubt, man. Like I feel like if I'm involved in it, then I have to give it my all. I have to really pay attention to the details. Otherwise, it's pointless.
And for you, I introduced you saying that you are literally the only person who can do what you do. And that's because you also have a patent for your service too, which has been, I'd imagine, really instrumental in your success and creating and staying in the lane that you made yourself.
The patent definitely is something that once I realized that this is a reliable service and I can go out and offer to customers, the patent became very valuable. I got to be honest with you, but Matt, what's more reliable or valuable than the patent is the trust that the customers have in me. They really do. I've gotten so much feedback from as high as professional baseball players to amateur guys, to people with wide feet, to say, listen, I was looking for something. I was almost begging for something to be out there. and I stumbled upon your website. And what I got back was so much better than I thought it could be. It just means so much to me that positive feedback is given to me by the customers. And I think that is more reliable than any patent, because now I'm a trusted person. And like I said, I don't take that for granted.
What would you say in your story would be the key to your success? Because you have the service that you offer, your work ethic, but then also too, there's that consistency factor that this started in the early 2000s. Here we are at the time of this interview, 2020, and you've been doing this for so long, and you just started with basically your brother, and now you've been able to grow it into such a large network.
Right.
So there's so many different factors that play into your success. What would you say is the main one?
The main success for me, like that really kept me going all these years, is the fact that I treat people right. My service is reliable, like I said, right? But when I speak to a customer, I treat them like a person. This is not a business transaction. I feel like, when they ask me questions or they reach out to me and say, listen, this is what I need. My son's feet are killing me, or her. I need something so they can play the game they want. Well, when I talk to them on the phone, it's not like I'm some telemarketer. This is an issue that I've heard 100 times or 1,000 times before, and it's the issue why I started it. So I can relate to those phone calls, and every single phone call I take. Okay, I have my hands on every single conversion, because I really feel like it's important to make sure it's done right. So I think they realize that, whether it be I speak to Josh Donaldson on the phone, I talk to his agent, I speak to the kid next door, who actually just came, knocked on my door and thanked me for the cleats that I made her for her lacrosse season. So it doesn't matter the level or the type of shoe or who the person is. I definitely like putting a personal touch on it. And I think that is what made me successful all these years.
That's well said. And you hit the nail on the head. Your character, from the first time that we had met and talked over the phone, I could just feel your energy. And it's just always so positive. And even during this interview, if you're watching this on YouTube, listening to it in your car, wherever you may be, Anthony's just a fun, good, regular, down-to-earth guy.
Without a doubt. Treats
people well. Yeah, I remember when we had first met, I was like, oh, it must be like similar personalities. Maybe it's the Italian in you, whatever it is. But this is how you are to everybody who you work with. And that can take you so far. And a lot of people who I've had on this Keep Swinging podcast, I found that it's their work ethic, and obviously consistency leads to success, but also to their character. You treat everybody the same. That's been a big help for you. And I'm sure it's also been a big help for how you've been able to expand your company, where, again, you start at baseball. You just mentioned lacrosse spikes, golf spikes. You even did spinning shoes for Bruce Bochy, longtime baseball manager of the San Francisco Giants. You are doing everything.
Well, that was a project that they called me and said, can you help them out? And I don't offer that, but that was an interesting project. And that kind of thing is challenging. So I like that kind of challenge. So I'm always welcome to those ideas.
Now, when you're sitting at home and you're watching these baseball games on TV, I know we've texted before, and you're out on your deck watching the games, and you see a player wear your product and your cleat. What's going on through your head? Are you excited? Are you surprised sometimes that a player decides to wear your cleats over and over? What is going on through your head? Because you've had so many players ever since Russell Martin.
Right. Honestly, my reaction is, shit, man, I finally made the big leagues. Something I did went to the big leagues. So, it's fun.
Dude, I'll tell you what, man, just from being inside the clubhouse and inside the dugout at all these big league ballparks, I've seen your work over and over so many different times. And if I do see a cleat that has the spikes underneath, or a sneaker with the cleats underneath that are say like a LeBron or something like that, but it's a player that I'm unaware of that you have done, I'll send you a text message, or I'll ask the guy, I'll be like, yo, did Anthony do those?
Yeah.
You really are in the big leagues. You're there in a huge way.
Oh, man, I'm in every clubhouse.
again, that's going back to what I said earlier about journeys. And in my opinion, my favorite part about journeys is that you start something thinking it's going to end one way, but it ends completely differently. And yours was playing professional baseball in the Montreal Expo system. And now you're in baseball at the big league level and minor league level, of course, but just in a little bit different way, but having a huge impact.
Yeah. I mean, I saw a video I saw that just popped up on Instagram was Joe Adell, and he made that diving catch off Tatis, and he's sitting there on the ground after a great play, and he's got his feet up in the air, and I'm like, oh, he's got my cleats on. I mean, you can see. I mean, the best part about what I do, if you actually get a look at the underneath of the shoe, you can tell right off the bat. All right, those are custom cleats.
And he had the red bottoms. I saw that. I was like, wow, this is almost like out of a commercial. Like this is really cool. You couldn't script it better.
And we text here and there when he's ready to send some shoes in. And I don't think he didn't get called up yet. And he sent me these red shoes, and he's like, listen, man, I want these things to pop. Like, you got to put the red bottoms on. I'm like, absolutely.
You kind of just walked me into the next question, because I'm sure a lot of people at home listening to this and watching this are wondering, but how much do you interact with the player themselves?
Very much. But the contacts that I have on my phone are pretty extensive. And initially, when I first speak to them, sometimes they reach out to me on Instagram, or their agent reach out to me. But eventually, they text me. They usually don't call me. They usually text me to make it easier for everyone, So if we have time, we can respond. If they have time, they respond. I don't want to call it a friendship because I don't know them that well, but it's a very fun conversation that we have, and it's always about what shoe should I put cleats on? I'm going to send you these shoes. I just got them from a Flight Club or Goat. It's always interesting to see what they decide to send.
When you do talk to them and they're like, hey, I got this pair of cleats. I know you've done this before with players like Anthony Rizzo, whether it's his golf spikes or Clint Frazier with his cleats. Will they send you a text message and say, hey, I have these sneakers. I'd love to send them to you. Would you be able to get them to me this weekend? Is that how the usual process goes?
Yeah. They, sometimes they have some shoes they want converted for, specialty days in the big league. So, I mean, that's out of courtesy. Absolutely. They send me the shoes and they politely ask me, like, listen, is it possible to get them back on this date? And absolutely, out of a courtesy, if they send me a shoe and they want me to convert it, they will have it on the day they need it. Absolutely.
Okay. And when you do convert these sneakers into cleats, do you ever feel any pressure? I mean, here are guys who sign these huge, gigantic contracts, and take Michael Lorenzen, for example, pitcher with the Cincinnati Reds. He's wearing Vans out on the mound, which those are awesome that you converted. But in terms of like support and stuff like that, obviously they're the high tops, but they're not the baseball cleats per se. So is there ever added pressure when it comes to the placement of the spikes, and like also too, like, hey, what happens if these fall apart? So like, is there any added pressure when it does come to putting these spikes on?
I mean, I don't know. I don't really feel that kind of pressure because I have confidence in the fact that I'm doing it the right way. If I was doing it in a way where I kind of passed off a certain pair of cleats that I made as it doesn't really matter if this one falls apart or not. I don't look at it that way. I mean, like you said, like, it doesn't matter if it's a pro guy or we're talking about a 3-year-old starting out in baseball, where I'm converting these sneakers that are like 8C, they can fit in my hand. If I'm doing it right, then I don't have anything to worry about. That's the way I feel when I'm working on these shoes. I just did this shoe. I got to pull it up on my phone. One of the first Yeezys that came out when Kanye West was involved with Nike.
Whoa! Wow!
You know how much that shoe is on Flight or Goat Club? Goat, in between 5,100 and 6,200.
Wow.
So,
all right, so there you go. So going back to the added pressure, you get a sneaker that costs $5,000. It's in your hands, literally.
If I don't know how much it is, I'll work on it. I'll package it up. I'll get it out of here. Make sure it's completely good to go, and then I'll look it up and say, all right, well, I know this shoe is a valuable shoe. how much is this shoe actually? I looked it up the other day. I couldn't believe it. But I tell you, that's a beautiful shoe. The bottom sole, it's got that glow in the dark sole. Beautiful. I believe it was somebody in New Jersey who did it, and I think they're playing softball in.
While we're on that, since you just pulled up those Yeezys, some of the favorite sneakers that you have converted into cleats, in my opinion, that you've done. The Fear of God Clint Frazier cleats. Those were awesome. The Josh Donaldson LeBrons that he wore in the postseason, that LeBron James himself posted a picture on his Instagram account saying that he absolutely loved them.
And the Fear of God ones that Clint Frazier wore, Jerry Lorenzo reached out to me personally and had a turf shoe made for his dad and his son to play in his Little League. That was pretty exciting. It really was. That Jerry Lorenzo reach out and say, listen, man, those shoes are sick.
Jerry Lorenzo, oh man, what a fashion icon, started Fear of God. He's got so many different articles of clothing, sneakers, just stuff that especially athletes eat up. And he's the son of former MLB manager and player Jerry Manuel.
I was extremely humbled, and appreciated that he appreciated my service on his designed shoe.
And how do you find out about you? Was it through Clint Frazier's cleats?
I believe he found out about me before that when I did a turf shoe for Russell Martin of the Fear of God when Russell was in LA.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then LeBron James, when LeBron James posted a picture of Josh Donaldson wearing your cleats, I mean, dude, talk about like a surprise, an achievement. I mean, you got to be celebrating all these wins.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's pretty cool, And
dude, this is another thing that I love about you. You are extremely humble. I'm throwing out all these names at you, and I think that just adds to your character.
I'll tell you what, the best thing for me, and obviously these guys that you just mentioned are incredibly famous and well known, and I appreciate them reaching out. But I tell you what, I honestly, the best thing for me is watching a baseball game with my daughter, and she's sitting on a couch. And she goes, "Hey, Dad, did you make those cleats?" I'm like, I'm getting chills right now just talking about it. Like to me, that's the coolest thing. It really is.
She's probably so happy and proud of her dad, and that's so beautiful too. That father and daughter just get to sit down, hang out, watch some baseball. You guys just took a nice camping trip together, so she's got to give you motivation to continue to keep on doing this and grow your business, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, I mean she absolutely is my motivation for everything, for sure.
As your business does grow, your network has just grown tremendously, from athletes to just your audience in general on Instagram and Twitter. Your network within the sneaker community, you're working with a ton of artists. Dan Gamache, for starters. I mean, this guy is the man when it comes to sneaker artwork. Souls by Sir you've worked with. What's that been like? And do you see custom cleats growing to something even larger because you do have this network where you pretty much have the resources and the relationships with these guys to continue to build?
As far as the artwork, I leave it up to those guys. Those guys are amazing. For them to contact me so we can do a collaboration on certain athletes, for me is awesome. So I'd rather do collaboration than try and do something that I know I'm not good at. Okay. I mean, I'd rather have a top of the line cleat and then the artwork of these top of the line artists and have it meld together. And the art part is not something that I'm interested in getting involved in because they do it so well. And the group of guys that reach out to me and we do different projects, I'm so appreciative for. I want to stick to what I'm good at.
Mm-hmm.
If they come back to me, then they know that also, that this service is the most reliable service that I can go to custom cleats for. I just sent a pair of 4s to Mosh. We're doing a little football cleat. Man, I can't wait to see what he does to these things, because it's a white blank 4, and it's just kind of like an open canvas for him. So I can't wait till I see what the finished product on that. I mean, I had a lot of projects going. I got another one for the shoe surgeon. He's out in LA. Really nice guy. We did a project for a certain Dodger pitcher. They were Jordan 1s. So, keep your eye out for a Dodger pitcher wearing some Jordan 1s that you can't keep your eyes off.
You threw some names out there. When you do have a shoe that comes across your desk, is there any that stick out over the years that you're just like, wow, this is awesome, or like maybe one that you did like 5-10 years ago that you just can't get out of your head because it was just like so cool and you were just so happy to be part of the project?
Man, that's a tough question. I've had so many shoes that I've worked on. It's got to be the Fear of God. I love that shoe. I really do. I love the Fear of God shoe.
It's definitely my top three. The other one in the top three that I had was Cameron Maybin's Fruity Pebble LeBrons.
Oh yeah, those
that you did cool. For Mother's Day that he wore.
That's right. Those. Oh, and the collaboration we had with Mosh for Clint Frazier on Mother's Day. That artwork on the all white Jordan 1s that I converted. I mean, that was like spot on, man. That was awesome.
That's right. Clint Frazier had his mother's cats on each of those cleats, and that was a nice way to pay homage to them or tribute them. You mentioned your daughter before, and again, awesome family. And we're talking about all these different projects that you have and relationships that you're balancing, and whether it's somebody who you are providing your services for or just somebody who you're keeping in touch with. How do you balance it all out at home and everybody who you're working with? Because like that kind of fascinates me that you've been able to keep such a high level of productivity as well as being happy at home.
I mean, like you said, it goes into everything that I'm involved in. If I'm doing something, I'm doing it 100%. And I mean, I think I'm disciplined enough to say, all right, okay, this is the amount of hours that I have available for this project or this activity or this, for personal time. I go into anything that I'm involved in and say, okay, well, I'm going to put 100% in for 3 hours and get the max out of those 3 hours. I don't waste a second of those 3 hours. And I make sure that I get my goal accomplished in the time that I allot for that activity, whether it be personal or professionally. But I don't mess around when I get involved in something. I mean, I'm like locked in. I'm like focused.
So you're huge on time management then, would you say, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
The discipline that you've had, the character that you've shown, how you've been able to do this for such a long time, and how it started something as simple as being on the deck of the apartment that you're living for your brother who had an injury, now has turned into your own empire, per se. It's so remarkable, man. And we're so thankful to have you on this podcast and just share your story of success and just show what consistency can do, especially when it's something that you really love and put 110% effort towards.
I mean, it was my pleasure, man. I'll tell you, Matt, ever since I've met you, you're a stand-up guy, you're a great guy. And I mean, I consider you a friend. I appreciate you having me on. I really do.
No, of course. I've definitely always believed in your product. But again, it all boils down to the character. It's just like, for everybody out there listening, just be a good person, work hard, and the sky is the limit. Anthony is a great example of that, what he's been able to do with custom cleats. And again, if you start a journey somehow and you think that it's going to go a specific way, just scratch that, because there's going to be curveballs thrown your way, and you're just going to have to adjust best as possible and embrace those struggles and then try to make the best out of them, because you never know where it can lead you to. And Anthony, it's led you to a great place. So again, thank you so much for sharing your story here on Keep Swinging. Now, I want everybody to be able to follow you and keep in touch with you. And I'll give a fair warning to the listeners right now and the viewers. If you go on to Anthony's Instagram page, there's a good chance you're going to spend at least 10-15 minutes just scrolling, checking out the different conversions that he's done. But Anthony, where can the people find you?
On Instagram, it's custom Cleats. On Facebook, you can also find my business page. It's Custom Cleats Inc. And on Twitter, it's also at Custom Cleats. So please follow me. Ask me any questions that you have as far as any sneaker conversion. I will answer your question without a doubt. I look forward to speaking to every fan or every potential customer.
Awesome. You heard it from the man himself. thank you so much for watching that episode of Keep Swing. Man, we have so many more awesome guests on the way, and I don't want you to miss any of it. So please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also, feel free to go back and watch past episodes. And again, if you subscribe to the channel, that is the best way to find out who we are going to have on the show next. And if there's a guest that you want on the show, I will do all that I can to have him or her come on. So please leave a comment. Let me know who you want to see on Keep Swinging coming up. And also, too, feel free to leave a comment what you thought about the episode in the comment section below. Give it a like. And if you head over to Instagram, I'll be posting clips from all these interviews. Just a little daily inspiration. And there you can interact with me as well. Until then, have an awesome day and keep swinging.